Caribbean, Cuba, CNN, packing life-threatening winds, provoking massive storm surge and causing a host of rainfall dangers. Hurricane Irma slammed northern Cuba on Saturday, continuing to plod a path of devastation through the Caribbean en route to the U.S. state of Florida. A string of small Caribbean islands was left reeling by the massive hurricane, which strengthened to a Category 5 storm as it made landfall overnight in Cuba. It was downgraded late Saturday morning to Category 3 but was expected to regain power. Irma is forecast to re-strengthen once it moves away from Cuba, and to remain a powerful hurricane as it approaches Florida, the U.S. National Hurricane Center said Saturday evening. In its 8 p.m. ET advisory, the National Hurricane Center reported that Irma had temporarily slowed down, moving toward Florida near 7 miles per hour, 11 kilometers per hour. The storm is about 110 miles, 175 kilometers, southeast of Key West and is expected to reach the Florida Keys early Sunday. The hurricane is expected to move along or near the southwest coast of Florida Sunday afternoon. Irma slams into Cuba, some towns on north coast underwater. pic.twitter.com/3c2fjlkp At least 24 people were known to have died in the Caribbean as a result of Irma. Many islands were still assessing the damage, even as they prepared for the arrival of another major storm, Hurricane Jose. A hurricane warning for Barbuda and Anguilla was downgraded to a tropical storm warning on Saturday morning and later discontinued. Tropical storm warnings remain in place for St. Martin and St. Bart's. By Saturday evening, the enter of Irma lingered near the north coast of Cuba, packing sustained winds near 120 miles per hour, 195 kilometers per hour, with higher gusts. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 70 miles, 110 kilometers, from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 195 miles, 315 kilometers. Irma's blinding rain and powerful winds began pummeling Caribbean, Cuba, late Friday as the outer bands of the massive storm made their entrance, knocking out power in a town that normally would be busy with tourists. By dawn Saturday, the town's main street had waves rolling down it, and within hours the whole town was flooded with several feet of water. Roofs could be seen flying off and trees were blown down as the wind gusted and roared. Officials reported a wind gust of 124 miles per hour, 200 kilometers per hour, around mid-morning Saturday. Most people in the coastal area live in one-story homes, putting them at great risk as floodwaters rose to roof level in some places. Residents were overwhelmed by the damage and said recovery will take time. Many people had left town over the past couple of days, with all foreigners urged to evacuate. Those who remained were prepared, though they knew this was a storm like few had ever experienced, they told CNN. The Cuban government staged emergency supplies and building equipment ahead of the storm's arrival, but it could be some time before the extent of the damage is known. As of 8 p.m. ET Saturday, a hurricane warning for Irma remained in place for the Cuban provinces of Camagüey, Ciego de Ávila, Sancti Spiritus, Villa Clara, Matanzas, and Havana, as well as for the northwestern Bahamas. According to state-run news organization Granma, there are 14,500 foreign tourists riding out Irma in the resort town of Varadero in the Matanzas province. Irma struck the archipelago north of Cuba's Camagüey and Ciego de Ávila provinces with gusts so strong they destroyed an instrument used to measure wind, Cuba's meteorological agency reported. Hurricane-strength winds later were recorded in the northern half of Camagüey province. The agency said as Irma advanced over neighboring Ciego de Ávila province, 16 to 23-foot waves, 5 to 7 meters, were recorded. As the storm headed westward, the possibility of even bigger waves and greater flooding was high along the northern Cuban coast, including in Havana. The agency said, Irma was the first Category 5 hurricane to hit Camagüey in 85 years. According to the province's state media radio station. Damage was reported in all municipalities in Camagüey, the station said, mostly in the form of torn-off roofs, damage to buildings, downed trees and loss of electricity. Irma's eye was due to strike part of the Florida Keys on Sunday morning before driving up the state's southwestern coast by Sunday afternoon, according to the Hurricane Center. Forecasters and Florida officials issued dire warnings urging residents in Irma's path to evacuate immediately. About 6.3 million people in the state had been ordered to leave, officials said. Of the 24 deaths blamed on Irma in the Caribbean, 9 were in unspecified French territories, 1 in Barbuda, 1 in Anguilla, 2 in Dutch-administered Saint Martin, 4 in the British Virgin Islands, 4 in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and 3 in Puerto Rico. I have never seen any such destruction on a per capita basis compared to what I saw in Barbuda this afternoon, Brown told CNN on Wednesday. Antigua, Barbuda's sister island and home to about 80,000 people, was spared the brunt of the storm. Many residents there have been evacuated ahead of Jose. There is a sense of dread. Utility poles are down everywhere, there is no power and no public water, and it appears it may take a long time to restore, Xaverius van der Herk, who lives in St. Martin, told CNN. Looting broke out on the island, home to about 72,000 people, and security forces were deployed to deal with the problem, French and Dutch authorities said Friday. Irma caused roughly €1.2 billion, $1.44 billion, of insured damage in the French portion of Saint Martin and in Saint Barts, French state-owned insurer CCR said Saturday. This amount covers damages to homes, vehicles and businesses, including operating losses, that are covered by the Natural Disaster Compensation Scheme, CCR said. Just to the north, Anguilla, a 90-square-kilometre island that is among several British overseas territories in the Caribbean, received the hurricane's full blast, according to UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office Minister Alan Duncan. Apart from the structural damage, there have sadly been reports of casualties and fatalities, he said. I am truly heartbroken by this news. Puerto Rico, an unincorporated U.S. territory, managed to avoid a direct hit from Irma but suffered strong winds and torrential rains. Hundreds of thousands of people remained without power on Friday. Strong winds and heavy rain also lashed the Dominican Republic, Haiti and the low-lying Turks and Caicos Islands Thursday into Friday. The Turks and Caicos capital island of Grand Turk suffered quite a bit of damage, including to part of a hospital's roof, Governor John Freeman told CNN on Friday.